You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Venazzi from OptionFit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionFit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That rockin' tune means it is time once again for a little show we like to call around here the Option Block. If we sound a little bit different, it's because we're not coming to you from our studio. We're coming to you from a very loud Gibson's. You gotta keep it down there in the background there.
Nah, let them talk.
Keep it down in the cheap seats. All right.
They're doing big business over there, you know, Mark?
All right. My name is Mark Longo from TheOptionsInsider.com, as well as, of course, on the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. And like I said, we're coming at you not from our studio, and not from, let's say, OIC or the Trading Show or any other big conferences we've been doing lately, but it's our annual sojourn to the Option Pit Pro Trader Summit right here in good old, scenic, and delicious Gibson's.
Yes. I mean, I got to say, of all the forums where you do podcasts, because we see your tweets and posts.
This is definitely the most delicious.
This is by far the best.
Definitely the most delicious.
I mean, it's the only one where there's like, hey, would you like some drinks while you're doing this?
They don't fate us with steak and everything else at all the other shows. At least not till after the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Is done. That
they
voice,
have you in some lonely hotel conference room by yourself.
That voice, yes, often we are. That voice means we are joined, the tinny voice, by the Greasy Meatball himself, Mr. Mark Sebastian, from his own event. Welcome to your own event, sir.
I'd like to say that if I'm tinny, it is not my fault this time.
It is the beverage's fault.
No, it's your fault, because you're the one running the thing.
Yeah, I'm Sans, my sound guy. It's just me. I'm a one-man show today, so if the audio is bad, I still blame him, because that's what I pay him for, but still.
Correct.
Other than that. And next to me, pleased to be in the same room yet again, by the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com, by way of Carmeline Capital. Mr. G, welcome back to your own show here at your own event.
It is great to be here, and in a place where actually I have had many tasty and delicious treats. Lobster and steak you can get here.
Yes. Listeners,
among others.
If you have not been to Chicago, then of course...
among other tasty and delicious treats.
Among other tasty and delicious treats.
Take a swing by Gibson's. You've heard of it. Good stuff. Good place to do a show as well. And then next to us, who do we have as our guest? I believe you joined us last year, right? Is it slide the mic over to him, Mark?
Yeah,
and we can
he's
share.
got it. He's got it.
That one's not. That's the Gibson's mic. That's not plugged into us. So you'll have to share.
Just sharing mics.
All right.
Lean in. There you go.
Hey, this is Steve Place from investingwithoptions.com.
There we go. Steve Place from investingwithoptions.com. A great slew of people joining us from your event today. So let's get right to it with a little bit of the old trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for The Trading Block.
That music means it is time once again for the trading block. Like I said, a little bit different today because we're at a different format. So we're going to get into what was trading, what was lighting it up. But let's start, Mr. Meatball. You're in the midst. You're in the teeth. The mist. Easy for me to say. I haven't even had any drinks yet. You're in the teeth of the Pro Trader Summit. Catch us up. What the heck is going on? What are you guys talking about? Who do you have in here talking? What are some of the interesting presentations? I heard a rumor that the Flow Master is in town for this. What do you have going on here?
Yeah, no, Henry Schwartz will be in tomorrow, which will be great. Today, the last couple days, we've had leaders, influencers, and smart people talking.
So then what are you doing here?
Yes, well, I haven't spoken yet.
He arranged it. He arranged it.
Yeah, I
There you
arranged
go.
it. I'm the
There you
arranger. So yesterday we did kind of non-options content. So we had Kathy Clay from Seabold Live Vol coming in talking to content. Danny Gisa, who works there but is actually a Treasury Curve trader, came in and talked. We had Greg Magadini come in and talk.
I met him before the show.
He's a great guy. Come in and talk crypto. He and found out he owns the DNS equivalent on Ether of optionpit.com.
He told me, yes. He's the new domain squatter for.
He's the domain squatter. My understanding is you better buy optioninsider.com.eth. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
He was already trying to hold me up for it before the show. He wanted an exorbitant price.
We had, Andrew and I in the morning. Adam Singh, one of our clients, came in and talk trading. Who else? We had.
I think that's it.
No, we had one more person come in and talk.
One more.
I don't
person.
know. I don't know. We had other, and then today we've had Andrew and I did live trading for an hour. We had Keith Harwood and Steve come in and talk. Steve did a really, really good presentation on kind of building a system. Quoted some really brilliant people in his presentation, and then we closed things up. We had BigBlondeHair.com, Lauren Sebastian come in and talk the future of social media and retail. So it's been quite the event, and that's been kind of the event. And in the meantime, it's always fun to see the clients react. And Steve, I know your first time at SIBO was last year, right? When something really goes down and you hear the SPX pit, kind of even from the conference room, you hear that roar, and it makes you go, whoa.
Yesterday would have been a good day to be down there to see what's left.
Jim Green, that's
right. To see what's left of the floor light up. It's not like it used to be in the old days when that rumble would cascade across the floor, right? But still, what's left of it can still light up on occasion.
It does. The problem with the rumble is, though, it hits all the glass cubicles and dies.
Yeah.
Reverberates and gets
it's a different. I was telling
quiet and nasty.
I was telling some of your clients, before the show started here, that that was a unique experience when you would hear that roar start somewhere in the far reaches of the floor, right, and then it would start making its way across, and you'd say, "Wait a minute, something's happening. I don't know what. Who died? Who got assassinated? Who cut rates? Who did what?" And by the time it got to you, all hell was breaking loose. That's a unique experience, a unique sound that can't be replicated in the modern screen environment.
And it sent quite a tingle up your spine, as I recall.
Someone told me
sometimes two tingles.
Someone maybe you had to go to the bathroom. It's all that kind of fun stuff.
It gave you a good hint to turn off your quotes.
Yes. Get the hell out of Dodge. Someone told me before the show, and I think it's kind of true and also a little bit sad. The modern equivalent of that is a Trump tweet. And I was like, oh, that's kind of true and kind of scary all at the same time.
And your screen goes sideways now with the Trump tweet. When markets get wide and nobody does anything anymore.
Well, Andrew, what were you regaling the folks with at the conference over these past couple of days?
We were talking about our Edge Hunter products.
No, you said it wrong again. Edge Hunter.
That's right, the Edge Hunter.
Our
Edge Hunter products. The psychology of trading actually has shown up quite strong the first 2 days. Everybody has touched on it, and a lot of similar threads. Mostly with trading, you have to kind of trade against yourself to some degree. You're fighting the devil in your own mind. So I think as a theme, we hit that quite well.
And Stephen, same question for you. You were speaking to the people at the event this week. What was your presentation about? What were you talking about over there?
So I talked about strategy development and the concept of creating trade systems, viewing it from the lens of a franchise, like a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A, and saying, what are the things that you need to have in place? So one thought experiment was, if is it possible for you to take your trade ideas and trade systems, give it to someone who's completely green with trading, and give them your own money? And that's the thought experiment, the way to try and develop your system so you can get better returns with less risk and free up your time.
It's interesting, also a little terrifying too, to consider that prospect. Here, random green person. Here's all of my net worth. Don't ruin me. And so, have you had any results from that, or what were some of the findings and maybe the takeaways from your presentation today?
Well, we took that idea and I went through a model and said, here are the kind of the components and strike selections and the kind of the technical and volatility triggers you want to consider before you get into it. And then we looked at an actual trade system. I call it a knife catch trade system for when individual stocks or markets are incredibly oversold, because when you're oversold, two things can happen, right? It either bounces really hard or it collapses, right? It rarely stays at that current price. And so if you can structure risk in a specific options trade around that that's a little bit bullishly biased but still stay long vol, then it's a pretty good setup.
Yeah,
I like that.
I hope so. It's your event. If you didn't like it, it would be silly to have him there.
Well, just to make a point, I mean, it's not like we invite a lot of other option guys to come to this event, and even fewer to come to our VIP event. The reason why Steve comes is because he's one of the only guys that actually isn't when he develops stuff, it's there's thought to it, there's math behind it, there's process. And what he was really doing is, we should call it, he's like the option trader version of Joel Embiid, the process. Embiid, from the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh.
He's the process. That's what they call him.
I'm not up on all my latest Phillies players.
He changed his name to Hulu Has Live Sports, but they call him the process because, and Steve's much the same way, process-driven, data-driven, and that's something that maybe it's not my strength. And by maybe, I mean not my strength.
I'm smiling. I wasn't going to say anything. I'll let you say it yourself, sir.
And so he brings a lot of real robust thought to the table. And, if you're looking for an additional service to Option Pit, I'm a big fan of Steve's.
Steve, give us a plug. What is the name of your service, and where can folks find more about it?
Investing with Options.
Get a little closer to that microphone there. There you go.
There we go. Investing with Options, and the site's investingwithoptions.com.
Easy to remember. I like names that sum up what you're talking about. You're not trading cattle futures. You're going investing with options. You're trading options. I like it. Good stuff. Let's keep on rolling here with a little bit of what's trading today. Obviously, we're here, so we weren't glued to our screens all day. But interesting stuff going on out here. Nonetheless, we're seeing, of course, today's day with most of them. It's been a crazy couple of days. Of course, you saw the sell-off and then the rally, and then a kind of a mitigated rally, I guess you can call it today. Not quite the extent that it was.
22 handles.
Yeah, not quite the extent it was the other day. So maybe walk us through that, Mark and or Andrew. What's it been like having a vol event when we're having real vol and there's actually real things going on to actually talk about out there?
Well, actually, what we did today is we started taking kind of the volatility of the SPX apart a little bit, where the vol was bid. And actually this morning, it was quite telling. They actually were bidding calls up in the SPX because the market was up and VIX was up, which was kind of weird.
One of those days.
Yeah, one of those days. We took apart the strikes, took apart the vol, and they were kind of bidding the upside a little bit this morning. So before things took off, I think there were buyers out there, or at least the liquidity providers were assuming there were going to be buyers out there. So we looked at upside flies and stuff like that, and the trades ended up good ideas, actually.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Yeah, vol was bid all day, and then we had kind of a little mini sell-off and then back to the highs, and then they just came in and crushed it.
It's annihilated.
They said, good night, vol. We're right now as we're recording this, futures are down, but it doesn't feel like it's going to last.
You think another leg up in us before all is said and done?
You look at things, we moved 80 points in 2 days. That's pretty strong.
That's some realized volatility right there.
That's pretty strong. But, Steve and I were just talking. I think we both are on board that, there's maybe some more upside to this.
All right, so one thought that I want to bring to this. When I think of volatility, there's historical, actual volatility. There's trending volatility and there's reverting volatility, right? 1% movement without any context of saying we're moving 1% to the upside every single day or we're going up and down, that's key. December was trending volatility to the downside, just straight down. The first, 2-3 months, we went straight up without any kind of pullback. We're seeing volatility, but the volatility is reverting, and it's logical. If you turned off your Twitter feed for a month, which I did, I actually handed the password over to my wife, so I would just ignore it for a while. The market is trading very logically. Like, the first pullback was into one of the March pivot levels. The second pullback we saw 3 days ago, right into the other March pivot level, right? The support levels are holding where they're supposed to be holding, and if you ignored the tweets and the news flow, the technicals look normal for what we see in a normal pullback scenario.
So it's not intimidating or it's crazy or outlandish to you. I like that experiment. I'm about to turn off my Twitter as well. I like that. Just
no way possible. No way you turn the Twitter off.
Get rid of the nonsense. Well, we put out too much content via Twitter, but that is a nice thought experiment.
You can go publish only, so you just avoid the trolls the whole time.
There we go.
Now, the part of the story he leaves out is when he handed his password over his wife. She was like, "Really, Steve? Password's your password?"
Password 1234. Yeah. He made it a little bit harder to guess.
No.
A little bit harder to guess. Well, let's break down a little bit of the action we saw today. You mentioned the vol. They came for the vol by the end of the day. Coming into the end of the day here, the VIX cash at about a 16, so that puts us at about 3 handles below where we were on our last show on Monday. We were at about a 19.2 on that show, at about a 16 now, so off quite a bit. Our old friend VVIX, even though we are seeing some volatility, a net that's coming in as well. That was about a 96 on our last show, about 10 handles lower now at about an 86 right now. And despite of the fact that we were having a little bit of movement today, it wasn't a huge volume day. And VIX itself, for example, less shy of 250,000 contracts on the day, which ADV is a little bit north of 700,000 right now, so that's a fairly light day. SPY was lighting it up, though, so not much action in the vol space, but SPY itself doing pretty much its ADV, right around 3.25 million contracts, and it pretty much hit that today. SPX, same deal. It probably was that noise you heard coming off the floor. SPX doing about 1.3 million contracts today, and it's averaging a little bit shy of 1.5 million these days. The Q's also pretty robust out, about 750,000 contracts. ADV, about 850 on the tape. Only laggard out there was the Russell. IWM only doing about 225,000 contracts. ADV a little bit north of 300,000. What was that? IWM, yeah. And that's you can pick your poison in Russell, right? You can talk across the board. There are many flavors of Russell out there. If you guys had to guess today, I'm looking at the top 10 most actives right now, top 20 actually of the day from an options perspective. If you had to guess, what was the number one lighting up the tape today? I'm talking single name equities now, not SPY or VIX or anything like that.
I mean, Apple is always interesting. I'm gonna go out of the box. So right. What was really moving today? CRM announced earnings last night. That would be a good one. But I'm going to say Apple because it was up $7.
Mr. Rock Lobster, what's your guess?
I'm going to guess Amazon.
Amazon. Interesting guess. Steve, go ahead. You can hazard a guess as well. The most active single name equity option today.
Yeah, I guess we got to stay in FANG. It's not Facebook, but I'll go with Facebook right now.
Facebook. Okay, good guess. What'd you guess? You guessed Apple?
Yeah.
Apple is number 1, 530,000 contracts. Number 2, Bank of America, 380,000. Number 3, Tesla, 350. Number 4, AMD.
Are we looking at dollar-weighted contracts?
Tesla.
AMD, 311,000. And number 5, NVIDIA. Facebook actually number 6, about 291,000. So fairly light day out there.
Was I last?
You said Amazon?
Yes.
Amazon was number 12. So I guess, technically you were
I lost.
You were last.
I lost.
Even if I take Bank of America out because they're ex-div right now, so they don't really count.
I love that Steve's getting offended because he's like, dollar weighted, I was right.
Dollar weighted. Just contract volume.
I mean, he's got a point.
He's the first person to make that protest.
Bank of America's $20. Screw that.
Then he must love Kospi options. He must be into those all day long.
He fits right in. He takes umbrage right away. He's like, that's
instantly.
crap.
I like
I don't know
that.
what you're talking about.
I like that. He's been learning from you. Instant umbrage. If Tusaw were here right now, he'd be taking instant umbrage as well. I know what wasn't taking umbrage, though, was the options market last month. Pretty good numbers, Mr. Rock Lobster. We got the numbers in from our friends over there at OCC. Overall May volume, you kind of figured it was going to be a good month, and it was up 13.1% That's total cleared contract volume, 465 million contracts. That means still year-to-date ADV, though, down a mere 8% from last year. So still can't break 2018's levels. Let's drill down a little bit farther. Overall options volume, listed options, that's where we like, obviously. That's where we hang our heads. 456 million contracts, that's up 12.9%. Equity options volume, drilling down a little bit farther, about 406 million contracts, up almost 11% from May of last year. Cleared ETF options volume also up. That's been kind of a bit of a black mark lately. That's up 16.5% from May of last year to 175.7 million contracts. Index options, also they've been kind of lagging lately. This past month, not so much, up 33.2% to about 50 million even last May. And futures, remember we talked about VIX futures. The death watch for VIX futures has been in for some time. Not last month. They hit 9 million contracts, up 20.1% from May of last year.
What did we do in May? What the heck happened?
Yeah, nothing happened in May. A little trade war came and went and came again.
Oh, that's right.
We expanded it to Mexico, and I believe Luxembourg was the other one we added in there.
And is there a country in Africa that we have not had a trade war yet?
I think we have. There's a few countries on the board.
I'm thinking the Congo is next.
We have not picked a fight with yet. But yeah, the VIX futures, that's the only thing they really clear. CBOE futures are kind of done, Bitcoin futures. So VIX futures are clearly still doing a little bit of paper. Does that surprise you?
Okay, I have a closet theory.
That's why you're here, for your closet theories.
They changed the symbol from VXXB to VXX, and all of a sudden it started trading again.
There we go.
Because people could find it on their screen when they printed and took it up.
The power of our Vol View show.
Getting.
We were complaining about that on Vol Views for how long, and they finally listened to us. They got rid of it. And then, bam, I think there's something to that. I think there's something to your theory. Mr. Meatball, you concur with that it's the symbol change of VXX that made VIX futures actually gain volume last month?
No. That's maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life.
That was a lot of lead up for a no. I thought you were really getting into it. You were leaning in. You looked like you were really thinking about it. And then you said no.
Not even a maybe? Even a maybe?
You know what also was exciting? Beyond Meat reporting after the bell today. Interesting. So I actually have you had one of the Beyond Burgers? I tried one for the first time yesterday.
I have not.
It actually was surprisingly good. Gibson's might be in some trouble down the road here. Might have a Gibson's Beyond.
I wonder how many calories to make it taste good, how many calories you think that are in that wheat burger?
It's mostly soy and a bunch of other stuff, I think, but it was surprisingly good. Mr. Meatball, you've had a Beyond Burger, I'm sure.
I have not, but I did look at the nutrition, and there's more calories in Beyond Meat than in regular meat.
But it's all about the flavor at this point, right? We want to make sure the flavor is good. And the flavor at least, well, I guess we'll see tonight when the earnings are sure to be out as we see this. So we'll see how they perform tomorrow. I don't have I don't have their earnings move analysis here from our friends at ORATS. I'll have to get that and see how they perform. But interesting stuff. Also, big names popping off this week. We had GameStop, your favorite, on Tuesday, and Salesforce. We had today, because I think thinking it's Thursday, but it's not our normal show day. It's Wednesday. And so actually Beyond Meat is tomorrow. I do apologize. Tomorrow's a normal day. Today we have Vera Bradley and your old favorite Campbell Soup. So a lot of hot names popping off. Speaking of popping off, we got some names popping off here to talk about. So let's get right on into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time for the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get a little weird, a little wild. We break down some weird paper that is lighting it up in the world of options. We're going to kick it off. I bet you can't guess where we're going to kick it off today. It's going to be Tesla. Don't look. I see you staring. I see you're trying to cheat. We're going to kick things off talking about Tesla. I want to because Steve hasn't been on the show in a while, so he doesn't know. He is not cheating. He's not looking at the notes like Andrew is here. Steve, we're going to play a little guessing game at the top of the segment here. I want you to play for us. If you had to guess right now, looking at where Tesla is, coming into showtime here, it was at about a 196.5, up about $3 today, so a good name for Tesla. Still shy of that magical, mythical 200 level. Steve, if you had to guess in your rational heart of hearts there, what would you think is the number one options position in Tesla right now? The biggest size position? I'll let you just do month and strike and call and put, whatever you feel like. What do you think it is?
It's the exact same one we talked about last year. Longer dated, deep out of the money puts that are probably tied to credit.
Pretty much, almost exactly right. Almost exactly right. That's number two. It is the longer dated. The weird thing is, The number one spot is actually dominated by a lot more near-term stuff. It's actually the June 50 puts are lighting it up. And there's 78,000 of those open right now. And the funny thing about it is they keep growing. They add like 5,000 every other day to the OI. So June 50 puts, that's what makes it fascinating. The Jan's always going to be there. Number 2 is the Jan 50 puts. Number 3 are the Jan par puts. Number 4, the Jan 10 puts. And number 5, the June par puts.
So can you imagine what they're selling over the counter to get people to justify buying the June
we're all in the
puts?
wrong business. We need to get out there and just
clearly are
sell
selling
some
the wrong
CDSs.
puts.
You can buy, but the June is fascinating, though, because they continue to grow open interest. If you're selling CDSs and you're worried about the end of June, you think you can get a little bit farther out, you know?
I think part of the June was that scare that this might be it. This might be the month for Tesla.
Yeah, that crazy
but it did not happen.
That crazy analyst put out his $10 price target, right, to get some ink. So maybe that drove half of this OI was from that. I don't know, but
that actually is a better explanation than my VXX on the future.
I thought you were. I wasn't as dismissive as the meatball on that. I thought there was something to that, mostly because we're responsible for that name change.
It was a little harsh.
That name change was pretty much the result of volatility views. So I think we can take some credit for that. Let's see what else we saw lighting up the table. Actually, Tesla is also in our option block, or odd block, I should say, as well today. Looks like someone wants to keep the party alive out there. One of the biggest trades we saw go up today was actually, it looks like a 10,000 lot roll. The June 220s going up 10,000 times versus the July 220s, also 10,000 times. So it looks like they did the spread for about 470 out there. So keeping the party alive for one more month, the 220s, Mr. Rock Lobster, for 10,000 times. Looks like they bought that spread pretty clearly over there on the MIAX, our friends over there on the MIAX. Does that one float your boat? $4 and change for some extended upside in Tesla, sir? 10,000 times?
Yeah. Now, was that open, or was they have open close on a roll?
That's got to be a roll.
Oh, that is keeping the party alive.
Yeah.
So you take all that effort to roll it a month.
Almost $5 to roll it a month. Does that set your savvy sense off?
And it's 20 handles out of the money. So I have to say, on the savvy scale, that's less than a 5 out of 10.
That doesn't even get you earnings. Earnings are on the 31st.
You miss it all.
So you do all that and you get naught for that.
And you're paying like 70 vol.
Yeah, at least. Let's see about the vol here. I do not have.
It's in the 70s.
It's got to be up there. Oh no, 58.3. So there you go.
Damn, I was close.
Almost 70. 58.3% vol. Steve, is that in your recommendations of your service? Do you recommend people coming in to do 10,000 lot, roughly 10% out of the money call rolls in Tesla for a month and pay about $5 to do it? Is that a high on your savvy scale, sir?
No, but I'll devil's advocate here for a second.
He likes it dollar weighted. That's what he likes it as.
Yeah. 250 was last week. So when you're saying 10% out of the money, well, percentages when Tesla's moving 10, 15% every 3 days, then 10,000 is a bit ambitious. I don't know what the customer's trading along with it, but technically it's back to the lower end of the range, back from 2014 to 2017. How much juice does the short side have left, at least in the near term, without some kind of a relief rally? I could justify it like that.
I think he likes his trade. I think he's talking himself into it. I can see it over there.
He's pulling that mathematics thing.
I can see him.
Unexpected move and all that learning.
I can see him firing up his brokerage app as we speak right now to say, I think I want to piggyback on this. 10,001.
They just look at percentages and volatility, and I'm just looking at lines on a chart saying, it's probably finding support at some point.
It did go up by right, so there was some stock with this. I don't have the ratio here. If it was 1-to-1 or some sort of delta neutral, how they did. That obviously changes the equation quite a bit. But interestingly enough, that's an interesting one. We don't see usually Tesla on the odd block for size, and if it is, it's usually those June 50 puts. So the fact that it's something else is worthy of note. You know what else was worthy of note today, Mr. Rock Lobster? If you said public storage, ticker symbol PSA, you were correct. There looks like there was some love out there for PSA. This is the name coming into today. Was at about $245, up $7 today, about 3%. So a good distance. Another one, no earnings today. The earnings are on the 31st. So this one was feeling some love. This is the name, if you're not familiar with the listeners. It's kind of been all over the map over the past year. A year ago, they were trading, looks like about 215. They have a low of 193 over the past year and a high of about 245, which they're pretty close to right now. So we're pretty much at the upper end of that range. So let's see what we saw. I'm going to guess, given the fact that we're at the upper end of the range, I'm going to guess probably calls. What do you think?
I think call, yes.
All
I'm
right.
going to guess calls, too.
2 votes for calls. We are correct, sir. It was 7,500 of the PSI D's 230s going up for $18. These are in the money. These are about 15 handles in the money. So $18 on these. Over there on a lot of MIAX prints today. What's up with that? Interesting. I'll have to tell Shelly next time he's on Volview. We've seen a lot of MIAX prints going up. These were opening. Earnings are on the 31st, so clearly there's some earnings between now and December. Let's see. The market going up was $17.20 at $18.20, so they lifted the offer on these. $18 calls for Dees. Looks like definitely opening and buying, Mr. Rock Lobster. We talked about in-the-money calls before. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this one maybe not your favorite trade of all time. Do you like deep in-the-money calls on these that far out?
Maybe this is stock replacement. Stock replacement certainly wants to get long and stay long through the earnings, right?
If it's stock replacement, I'm almost the opposite. I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Don't you? Do you like it with only like that? Seems a little light on the deltas for my taste. If you want to do stock replacement,
I think you got $4 a juice. So I mean, that's somebody's looking for a lot more.
That's true.
If you're spending that much and you know you're spending that much, you're looking for a lot more upside.
And usually stock replacement, you're thinking like 70, 75 delta. You don't see something along this. This seems a little bit light on that, but hey, we've seen it is called the odd block. We have seen crazier things. Steve, are you going to agree with Andrew that you think this is a stock replacement trade, or do you think there's something else?
That's what it felt like as soon as you said it. 2016 highs are 280.
Yeah.
So, it feels like someone just wants to maybe take a little bit off and just let it ride for a little bit. Maybe they caught the breakout really nicely, and they're just looking for that second pop at some point into December into 280.
Well, we're going to mark this one down as well to keep it as a to-be-watched candidate. We'll have some time to come back between now and December, Mr. Rock Lobster, to see how our friend is doing. If he is indeed up to some stock replacement, I don't look askance at a stock. I like a good stock replacement. Usually not that way, but hey, to each their own. Who am I to raise my eyebrow at such thing? All right, if you're not tired of P-related tickers, we got one more for you. We got Pacific Gas and Electric, good old PG&E, ticker symbol PCG. Come into Showtime today. They're at $20, $20.75 actually, up $2 or nearly 11%. Another good day for PG, not a name that's usually Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but they were moving today, Mr. Rock Lobster. A chart of this one kind of is all over the place. A year ago, we were 41.15 in June of 2018. They got all the way up, looks like a high of nearly $50, and then they fell off a cliff right around the end of the year there, and then they kind of were vacillating around that level, and now we're at 52-week low is actually $5. So they fell off a pretty steep cliff. And now they've rallied back all the way up to 2075. 10% of that roughly come in today. So let's see what we saw out here. Big call palooza out here, Mr. Rock Lobster. We got some opening call love in the weeklies. The June expiring on the 7th. So tomorrow. We've got opening paper on the June, what are these, 21s, going up 5,000 times for 30 cents. So what did I say? We were at 2075, and these are opening on the 21s for 30 cents at 5,000 times on the SIBO this time. They were 14 cents at 33, so going up near the offer on those bad boys. Also saw looks like a bit of a party alive roll here as well. The June SEP 13 call spread going up 4,500 times for looks like about $1.40, almost $1.50. It looks like this one is opening on the SEP, so it looks like rolling from so we got rolling from the 13s out to September, Mr. Rock Lobster, nearly 5,000 times, and then that's not enough. 13, wow, that's a legacy position that they're not going up on that, and then on top of that, they got someone's diving in 5,000 times for 30 cents tomorrow on the 21 strike, Mr. Rock Lobster. What do you?
I mean, look at what they're paying for that roll. It's a $21 stock. It's a 13 strike. They're paying $1 what? They're like paying $1.40 or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem like a lot for a 13 handle?
It is in the odd block. Yeah.
So PG&E got a little singe from the fire.
Yes.
Everybody thought they caught the fire. So maybe somebody's taking money and they're coming back to life. Maybe I'm thinking this is a coming back to life trade.
A little coming back to life, huh? What could be, Mr. Steve? There, do you follow PG&E at all? Is this a name that's on your radar at all?
I do. You may not remember this, but a couple months ago, when it looks like they were going to zero, a trader did come up and scoop up a ton of calls, and like an hour later, a ruling came out of a California court My conspiracy theory tinfoil hat is
conspiracy theories.
The trader who was involved had someone sitting in that court, either waiting to run out. I don't know if it's like, if you can text inside the courtroom, but somebody.
Red, like the
yeah,
verdict.
exactly. Somebody had it, and it's completely public information. Anyone who sat in the courtroom, but they had early access to that information, and there may be some extra legal catalyst coming out for the company within the next few days. I would potentially look into it, see if there's something else going on to convince that new trade to get some upside. If they get some things resolved, I mean, the big move to the downside had it at 30 back in November before it almost went to zero. So it's reasonable. California wildfire insurance voodoo.
Progressive?
No, not Progressive. PCG.
PG&E.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Progressive was an advertisement on the chart I'm looking at. So
I was like, I don't remember Progressive. I was like, there was an ad for Progressive,
I don't think Flow moves that much.
I know, I do remember that. Yeah, that was PG. They were bad. That was bad for them.
that was very bad for them. I like it. So tinfoil hat. He's taking umbrage. Mark's spilling drinks. It's a good option blog here.
Just another show. Here in Chicago.
All right, before Mark has too many drinks, let's keep on rolling right on into the mail block.
Interestingly, this is a block of mail.
Doing a mail block.
Yeah. Do you want a beer or anything?
Just after the show. That's fine. I'll have a glass of wine, but I'll just wait till.
This is the portion of the show, listeners, where you guys get to ask questions. Mark, if you want to round up some questions from any of your pick crazies, we'll take them. Otherwise, we got a bunch of people who wrote in here.
All right. Hey, everybody here at the conference. Hey! Everybody at the conference. This is your opportunity. Does anybody have any questions for me, Andrew, Mark, or Steve? This is a great opportunity. They do not have to be options related.
We prefer them, but they don't have to be. Oh.
All right, from Tubby. Tubby with a guest appearance.
Uh-oh.
Tubby just crashed the party.
We just got a tubbing. We just got a drive-by tubbing, folks.
I'm going to tell...
I warmed the pool up for tonight. Does anyone want to see a video of Andrew jumping in the pool later on?
I think that's kind of a scary prospect. We were just offered listeners a video of
With
Andrew jumping naked into Tubby's
that's
pool.
That's the question.
And no one... He emphasized the naked. He said extra naked.
It's G-rated at Tubby's pool.
I don't think anyone needs to see that. So we're going to keep on rolling with some actual mail questions, listeners, because the questions we're getting here in the room are, shall we say, somewhat dubious, especially from Tubby.
We have a question.
Go ahead, give the man a microphone.
Trevor, this is Trevor. He's from New York.
And an option pit student.
And he's got a great kangaroo cap on.
He does. Slide the man a question.
I have a question for Steve. I have a question for Steve. How do you go from your trading plan to a trading system? I don't think I know you discussed it earlier in the class, but I don't think you really got into a little bit of detail. So if you can explain how you go from the trading plan to the trading system.
Yeah, the process for taking a trading plan and turning it into a trading system. And this is for Steve Place, investing with options.
All right, so now that I have 30 minutes to talk about it, so you take an idea that you have that's repeatable across different assets, and then there are some things that you can do to systematize it a little bit better. Delta selection, the kinds of risk management techniques you could do if you're losing, the kinds of profit-taking techniques if you're winning, the kinds of time stops you want to do. The ideal situation would be very similar to a franchise like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, where you would then write it down in what's known as a standard operating procedure, an SOP. And then as you trade that however many times and you get feedback from those trades, you continue to update your SOP to continue to optimize the trade system. So hopefully that makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no.
We got Ren, another student driving by. Yeah,
we got them coming out of the woodwork now, Mark.
We do. Do you have a question? Tell you what, I have some people who wrote in. This guy here, Bertimer wants to know, Mark. He says he wants to know if he registers for the archive of the Option Pit Summit.
Right.
Will the meatball send me a Gibson steak in the mail? That's what he wants to know.
If he registered for the archive of the summit,
I'm assuming he's.
Will I send him a steak in the mail?
You're gonna put up the archive of all the presentations.
Yeah, you know what? I'll do. Yes.
What if the devil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will.
You will send him a steak?
I'll send him something from the Allen brothers.
So that's a good question, though. Like, are you going to make the archives available? People who couldn't make it to Chicago.
Well, we don't record everything, but we can make the presentations available and things like that. But no, we tend not to record. Our goal is to make it an intimate experience. But that being said, at Option Pit itself, we record everything, and so you can go to our website and find stuff from the first year that we started and find content on how I thought about butterflies and iron condors in 2010, which is pretty fascinating.
Pretty scary, pretty fascinating.
That was right about the time you and I were starting with this.
For this show, yes. 2010 was the early days of this show. So I'll let you guys choose. Do you want to do a question about buying puts, the best time to buy puts? Do you want to do a question about Uber? Do you want to do
no Uber
butterflies versus verticals? You want to do?
I want to do when to buy puts. I have an idea. I have a good idea.
Okay.
When to buy puts.
All right, let's do that one then. It's a pretty basic question, but also one
when the stock is going down, you want to buy puts.
How did I know?
If you
There's
want
going to be some wise-ass answer from you. All right.
And down a lot.
But our friend here, Ali.
Buy them when you can, not when you have to.
Our friend Ali has an actual serious, it's a very basic question, but you could easily fill several hours with this. And it's going to vary by everyone's kind of frame of reference. Ali wants to know, what's the best time zone to buy protection on the stock? So I'm assuming by time zone he means weeklies, 1 month, 3 months out, 6 months out, a year. This is a variation on a question we get all the time. Everyone's kind of mileage is going to vary. Let's start with you, Mr. Rock Lobster. If you have a go-to right now, you have a standard equity, you want to kind of hedge it. Let's say you're not super concerned, but maybe you have a little bit of modicum of a concern. What's your usual time frame? 3 months, 6 months, a year, 8 years?
Usually for me it's vol dependent, so I would say the lower the vol, the longer the term you want to buy just about anything. So higher vol, generally shorter term, lower vol, a little bit longer term.
And does that usually fall, like you start around 3 months? Where's your usual area you like to be?
Somewhere between 3 months and 2 weeks.
3 months to 2 weeks, okay. Usually I'm not going to say the other way. I think I say 3 months to 6 months. 3 months to 2 weeks. Interesting. Mr. Meatball, do you have a preference for that as well?
I would tend to agree with Andrew. I think the higher the vol, the shorter date you want to go. I think that you don't want to go too far out. You don't want it. It really depends. Do you want the Vega or do you want the Gamma? Right? When vol's high, you want the Gamma. When vol's low, you want the Vega. And so, generally speaking, rolling hedges that we look at, we're looking 3 to 6 months. But when the S hits the F, you want to dump that and go to like weeklies. Just tomorrow if you can.
Steam, same question for you, sir.
We'll do a variation on this. One of the risks that you have when you buy puts is if the stock rallies and implied volatility dumps, that's when you get in trouble. So you get the Delta and the Vega double whammy. One way to avoid that, if you're looking at individual stocks, what are you scared about? You're scared about the next earnings cycle. So if you buy puts in anticipation of the next earnings cycle, the implied volatility will stay bid in anticipation of that earnings. And then if you get the dump, then you can sell the puts. And if you don't, then you can sell it right before earnings and then reassess, or you can morph it into an earnings trade or something along those lines.
There you go, Ali. A number of different. We talked about this question many times, listeners, so I'm sure you have your own thoughts. What's your preferred time frame to buy some puts? Maybe you want to buy them longer term, and then you want to roll them at 6 months or a year or something like that, or 3 months. Let us know your preference. Meanwhile, though, we've been going for a little bit. I think the crowd's getting hungry and a little bit thirsty here, so we'll keep on going into our final segment. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Around the Block. You know the dance. This is the portion of the show where we tell you what we're watching for the rest of this week into the weekend. An early Wednesday show today here from the Option Pit Pro Trader Summit. So a little bit different perspective than we usually get to give you on the week. A lot of things popping off. I mentioned earnings at the top of the show. We still have a bunch coming up here on the show. We have, of course, I mentioned Beyond Meat actually tomorrow. Not today, but tomorrow. Today we have Campbell Soup, Vera Bradley, everyone's favorite, ABM. And then yesterday was GameStop and Box on Monday. And also Salesforce yesterday as well. So, Mr. Meatball, it's not all macro. It's mostly macro, but it's not all macro. If you want to watch some micro, there are some choices. There are some options out there, pun intended. So what are you watching for the rest of this week, sir?
Earnings, yeah, we've got Beyond Meat, which is beyond expensive.
It is pricey, but it is good.
And I'll just say that I don't know that you're going to get 50 people to show up for a party at the Beyond Meat Steakhouse.
I do hear like iteration 3.0.
Yeah, no.
Iteration 3.0
No
like
way.
the Impossible Burger is going to be a steak.
Who wants to
So
be
we'll
at the
see.
Beyond Meat Steakhouse? I'll take a pass.
Before Mr. Meatball has too many more drinks, Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you, sir. What are you watching for the rest of this week?
Actually, what I like to see is the week to close on a higher level to see if we can get by the latest round of tweeting. Like 2850 is something like that, something like a little meaningful, and I will tell you right now, I will serve no lobster with a Beyond Meat steak.
No mobster at all. Unfortunately, listeners, that music means we've come to the end of another epic journey through the world of options. What a journey it has been, listeners. We've talked all sorts of fun stuff. Had a fun guest. Had some people having beverages, including the meatball. All sorts of fun stuff. In fact, we have to go to have some steaks and some beverages right now. So, listeners, I know you're jealous. But before we go, let's go back on the horn. First off, is today the final day of the big Pro Trader Summit, or are there more days to come?
2 more days of the summit.
2 more days! An epic extravaganza of pro trading here.
There is so much trading getting stuffed into people's heads. We have to give them wine afterwards so they can deal with it all.
And I can certainly testify that they are indeed enjoying themselves some beverages. Mr. Meatball, sir, what are you looking forward to the rest of this week? Maybe some presentations coming up at the event that you're excited about?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We got Scott Shelley coming. He's going to talk about...
the Cowman.
The Cowman going to be talking. We've got the Flow Master coming. I think Uncle Mike made an appearance on Friday.
Oh, you got him out of St. Charles.
I did. He already had to leave. He had to leave, so that's how we got him out. We're gonna have, me and Andrew do kind of something every day. Keith. It's gonna be a really
live vol, little quickie live
vol. It's gonna be a pretty fun weekend. Still time to show up for general audience tomorrow.
They can't still come?
You can register for tomorrow.
Okay. It's a day-by-day thing? Okay.
Yeah, it's a day-by-day thing. You can come Thursday and Friday.
Oh, there you go. Optionpit.com, listeners, /events.
Yeah, /events, and you can join. You missed out on the free steak, but there is free beer and appetizers tomorrow.
and Flowmaster. Who can argue with a little bit of the Flowmaster, some Cowman, all sorts of good stuff. And give our friend Steve a plug as well. Another one more plug.
Yeah, no, Steve had to go tend to his family. Like I said, smart guy. If you want kind of a technical charting version of options, then you want to go to Investing with Options. It applies kind of the volatility and thought process, along the lines of what we do, but more from we're looking at a technical chart and then placing it over, as opposed to we're starting with volatility. So. But just great stuff, and a great addition to your education at Option Pit.
There you go. That's investingwithoptions.com to learn more. And on behalf of the Rock Lobster and Mr. Meatball and Steve and indeed myself, I want to thank all of you out there for downloading, streaming, subscribing, all the other fun stuff that you do, for attending these live events, for sending in your questions, for listening live. Hopefully you could hear it all on the live stream there. It's a bit cacophonous here in the room, listeners, but hopefully you can make it out. Otherwise, don't worry. It'll be on the network for you to enjoy. And we'll see you back here next time for more of the Option Block.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.